What is up, beautiful painting entrepreneur world? This is the Paint Your Path podcast, back at it with another episode. Aiden Smith, joined by the great and powerful Joel Mercado. How are you, bro?
Doing great, brother. How you doing, man?
Doing good. We are now late into December, or middle to late into December, and Christmas is coming around, and painting companies got to give out those bonus checks. It's that time of year.
It's a little different for me this year, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that, right? Like, it's different for you now. You exited a painting company, right? And I want to talk about this to our audience because some of you may know this about Joel, some of you may have heard about people exiting painting companies. Joel has actually done it, right? And not only was it I got to witness the moment, which was freaking beautiful, right? Never forget that. But I think that when you put all the years you did into anything, right? It doesn't even have to be a painting company.
Right.
And then now are able to bear the fruits of your labor on the other side in the way you did it. I mean, it's just powerful, right? So you said you're not really in that world anymore, right? No more bonus checks being given out. What did that process look like? And if you could share any thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. It's you know what a lot of people don't understand is sometimes when people are exiting companies, it's due to a good time to sell it because of it's more profitable. They were able to get more money. Some other people exit because of other life situations come up. My situation happened to do with more with like misalignment, right? And when I say misalignment, I didn't see the vision anymore with my partnerships, and it was just time for me to move on and continue doing things on my own and moving forward. So obviously, I exited in San Diego, and there's always those things that people don't understand behind the scenes. What does that look like? What's it going to take? So, but yeah, it's definitely a process, right? And you got to see it live time. And I found out the night of PaintCon, I was released of my duties. And that was a very emotional moment for me because it was like bittersweet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, no more meetings on Monday mornings, no more Sunday preparation, no more of this. It definitely took me a little bit to take in, right? And I'm still adjusting,
Yeah.
right? And for those that are listening, like, obviously it's a big blessing. Of course, it is a blessing to exit, and it's been awesome. And don't get me wrong, I still have other companies that I'm still managing with. It's just that for 7 years, that was all I knew, right? Like for 7 years straight was building processes, building people, leading myself, going through the days of being on the paintbrush and rolling and the stresses and not knowing what was going to happen tomorrow and seeing the vision and even seeing what would turn out 7 years later, right? It was that constant grind. So, it was definitely bittersweet. And I want our viewers and listeners to understand, like, enjoy the moment right now, because I actually didn't enjoy those moments. I was so focused on the grind. I was so focused on money. I was so focused on all these things that, like, now it's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Some of my painters still call me. They say hi and check in. But it's like, okay, cool. I have a new legacy I'm working on, but I still feel like my identity was attached to that company,
Yeah.
And now it's just no more.
Man.
The day-to-day is different. That process, what a lot of people don't understand is, again, some people's circumstances are different, contracts, lawyers, you name it. Like, there's a process to this. And I'm still in the process still, right? Which is interesting. Right now, I'm just released of duties. We'll find out in the next couple of months what everything else looks like. But I no longer operate or own the painting company, which
Yeah, it's so interesting. So it's so powerful, right? Like, I think a lot of the reason that guys trust us, as people in the space, to guide them and help them with their painting business is because we were in it. We are in it, right?
Yeah.
And you have other businesses and whatnot. But I think when you see the entire cycle, right? You started in that painting business, literally painting.
Yeah.
Moved up the ladder. I mean, we all know some of the stories, right? If you've been listening, and then you get to at the end kind of reach that full cycle moment. It's just like, who wouldn't want to learn from that, right? Shave years off of their painting business's life and do it the right way, right? Because I'm sure there were things that you did in that process you wish you could go back and redo. And I was in on some of your production meetings and some of the things you had going on, and I mean, it was so dialed to the point that I've been in other companies' production meetings. I was leading production meetings for one of these companies, and yours was on a different level, right? And that was years and years of refinement. And for somebody to get that on just a silver platter, here you go. Here's our process. Here's how we do things. Here's how we're able to do 5 million in 1 year. I mean, that's just incredible. So that's why I wanted to highlight that, because people don't realize, like, yeah, I exited a company, but when you really unpack it and think about it, it is powerful.
Dude, it's when I think about it too, it's like I go, wow, where it's at today to where it was day one, it's so different. And the processes that even, I want to shout out my wife. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but my wife, when it came to the administrative side, she created all our forms. She created
Wow.
literally all of our office stuff. And it was such a blessing for me to complain. I'm like, this problem. And she's like, hey, this is how we could fix it. And we
Yeah.
both come from a non-painting background experience. And it was just really beautiful to watch, her leave the company and then me leave just shortly after, and the new journey we're on, right? It's like we were able to build something beautiful, and we kind of look back at it and we're like, all right, well, what's next? And that's where it's like, I love the fact that we're doing this podcast. I love the fact that we can share these experiences with each
Yeah.
other because, like you said, it's very difficult to understand it. And now you see it from beginning to end. And now I understand what they're dealing with and what they're seeing and what that looks like at the end as well. And to prepare you guys for success at the end of the day, right? So that's super important.
Yeah. And we always talk about, and shout out to your wife.
Yeah, yeah,
Haven't met her yet, right? But we'll
yeah.
get there.
Oh yeah,
She's awesome. When people are thinking about what's next in their painting business, they are so consumed by their painting business that they can't sometimes see that. Or when they
yes,
think about it, it doesn't seem real, right? It is like, I know I can use this painting business as a vehicle. We talk about that all the time, right? It's kind of why we do this, is to help you guys finally take the next step, use your painting business as a vehicle so you can do the things you're passionate about. Because I know 90% of the people we work with,
yeah,
painting isn't their passion, right? It is a
yep,
great business. It's a great business model. It a lot of times allows you to be the entrepreneur that a lot of us are at heart and exercise those capabilities, right? Our sales, our problem solving, our relationship building, all those things we get to live through day to day and be at our best at. But if you told me, hey, Aiden, when I was, 16, 15 years old, you're going to own a painting business and that's going to be the way you're going to grow your life, I'd probably say, get the hell out of here, right?
yeah,
So a lot of guys, we're trying to allow you to see through another lens what you can do with your painting business, right? And yes,
oh, yeah,
some people do franchise out. Some people do grow into multi-locations. We've seen it. You've worked with guys that are like that, right?
yep,
But some people, they want to get to a point where they can exit, where they can
yep,
hand it off to somebody else, so maybe get that passive income, and now they are doing the things that they are truly called to do, right? And I know for you, it's the coaching, it's the impact, it is the growing a
yeah,
community that leaves a different legacy, right?
100%.
So it's just so interesting. And we're going to, in this actual call, dive into, I know I mentioned the production meetings and whatnot. We're going to dive into a little bit of how Joel kind of put his, 2 cents and systems into a business and really changed it for the better. So I'm excited for that because we're getting
Yeah.
to 2026 where a lot of people, especially people we know, are looking to have their best years ever.
Yeah. And I believe 2026 is going to be that year. It sounds weird, but like I feel it. I'm watching the market. I like just seeing these guys when we go to PaintCon and these events that we've been at. I just see the industry shifting for next year. And I think that's going to be a mindset that we need to tap into for 2026. Because a lot of guys are like, well, I don't know, the economy. So I have my opinions about that too.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And, I mean, it's been weird since COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been a little bit of a downtrend. Everybody
Yep.
was like super crazy successful during COVID. And then it's just been slowly, we've had conversations of guys coming to us like, oh, well, I was doing so great and I don't know what happened. And it was
Yeah.
like, well, you were in a weird spot in the history, right?
Yeah.
So now we're
We
kind of
all
coming to
there.
this. Yeah. Now we're coming to this spot where we're like, people are ready to open up and start spending a little bit more.
Yep.
Houses, they're just getting worse. So we get to capitalize and, offer a premium service, offer something that is necessary. I think it's more needed than ever, painting, right? Like you
100%.
always talk about, oh, you don't need the paint, but it's like a lot of these houses haven't been touched in a long, long time. So it is a great spot to be as a painting business owner, and we get to help people do that. So it's super cool.
Dude, if you remember when Nick Slavic was on with us this year, he said something very powerful, which obviously wouldn't have known those stats because I was in the middle of COVID, of building and learning. And he made a very interesting statement about that. He said, yes, it's going a downtrend to what was normal before COVID. So it's actually not abnormal. It's like we just had a real uptrend because of a situation that came up like COVID, right?
Exactly.
But then now we're just going back to like what was normal in the industry at the time.
Yeah.
So if we could stay above that, then technically we're doing very well, right? And like you said, when we get into the production side, which I'm really excited to talk about, it's going to make sense why we're going to talk about production today. So
Yeah.
super important.
And it is important too to have the data, right? Like we help set up people's next year a lot of times in forecasting, and we get the year over year data. So as soon as you can start tracking that, your leads, your estimates, right, average job size, all that stuff, you get to now ballpark for the next year and have super dialed in numbers. So when you're talking with your sales rep, your production manager, your quotas aren't based on emotion or feeling or what we think is possible. It is like, no, this is what we did last year, and we expect the X amount growth. Here's what you should be producing, right? So a lot of the emotion is taken out, and you can have meetings in a different way. And a great way to track these numbers is through our partner, DripJobs.
Yeah.
Our sponsor of the Paint Your Path podcast. And we love the way it gives us our metrics, right? We can know what our set rate is so I can keep my appointment setter accountable and my admin accountable. Our closing ratio so I can keep my sales reps and me accountable. And so much more that you can look at on a 30-day basis, 90-day, year-over-year basis. So start tracking your numbers. And one of the ways we do that, and I know Joel does this as well, is using DripJobs and their metrics and just having all the data at your disposal. It is crucial. So
100%.
Just wanted to spotlight that.
Yeah,
so let's get right into production, because you said something before we hopped on the call, and you said my secret number or my secret method is a little bit of gap between sales and production. And I'll just preface this with, this is kind of the coaching that we provide, right? When we can start talking about what's realistic sales production, what's realistic to be able to be produced versus sold, right? It's like, okay, I sold 1 million, but how much did I produce, right? Selling is for vanity. What was that saying you said before?
Yeah, it was, revenues for vanity and profits for sanity.
Boom. Right.
Yeah.
In other words, right, sales is for show, production's for dough, right? So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great time of year. It's the end of the year as we're getting closer to it. I've seen people in the industry, and I've done this myself, by the way. Like my first 3 years in the industry, we were always slow in the wintertime. And I live in a really demographically, like I shouldn't be slow, right? Like everyone else has the great excuse of snow, rain, that stuff you can't control, right? But I didn't have that excuse. So this is where, I had to forcefully figure that out. And, the biggest thing is demographically, this is like right now, dude, it's like 79 degrees out here in San Diego. And when I first started, we were always slow this time of year. And it's like, why? Well, it's because we were overproducing in the summertime and we continued to overproduce in the winter, and we didn't get back to our normal goals because summertime, you're going to maximize, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's exterior season and we're all crushing exterior. And one thing I've noticed, especially with the data lately, between my businesses and then obviously clients and all of us talking amongst ourselves, I feel like the magic number is like a $10,000 gap. When you're like from 1 million to 5 million, there's this $10,000 gap that just makes sense. I've seen it every year. So the first thing I start with is anytime that you're talking about next year, everyone always says, oh, I want to do $1 million. Let's just do $1 million. Like the common number, right? So everyone says, I want to do $1 million. And I always go, well, is that in sales or in production? Because those are two different goals. And I've found in our industry is that a lot of guys want to produce what they sell. Well, that's inaccurate in my world. So I don't want to be like, everyone has their theories.
Sure.
But in my world, that's inaccurate. You always want to sell more than what you're producing because you need work for next week and the week after and the week after and the week after. So what happens is if you're overproducing in the summertime and you overproduce in the winter, now you're left with no work and you're selling for next week. So there's two mindsets that happen now. Scarcity mindset. So now you're lowering the cost of your jobs because you're like, I need to put jobs onto the schedule. You're losing great painters because you don't have enough work. So all of that hard work you did all year round to do leadership training, all the coaching, setting up the right people, for it to just be gone in less than 30 days makes no sense to me. And that was like the vicious cycle I was in the first 3 years of my life in the painting world. So I would say if you're going to do $1 million goal next year, right, then that's roughly $20,000 a week in sales. So you, in theory, should be producing $10,000 to $15,000 a week, and then keep it at that. If you see an opportunity at wanting to sell or producing more, don't do it unless you're past 6 weeks. What do I mean by past 6 weeks? Usually when you hit that 8-week mark, I notice that most customers now don't want to go with you because it's too far out. So I always leave a gap of a $5,000 job that could be fit in based off my sales team as well. So there's a whole tactic on how I run productions.
Yeah, no, you can tell you've been through it and you've seen so many different versions of it with companies.
Yeah, brother.
And it's so funny too, because every company has their own way of doing things, right? You know, you talk to guys and they're like, dude, I'm 5 months booked out. And you're like, what are you doing? Start doing jobs, start hiring people like to take care of this stuff. Well, what are you doing? So it's like
organic growth, dude.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I sold 100,000 this month. You're 5 months booked out, bro. Like you ain't seeing any of that money for a long time, you know?
Very long time. Yeah.
So it's important to have you got to have like a good ecosystem of solid talent, you know, recruiting painters, just because you know you're going to need them at a certain point. Like maybe some backups. You always talk about having your backups available and ready. You don't want to, you know, have a project ready to go in 2 weeks, but you can't do anything for 2 months. And a lot of guys do that. And I also saw the other spectrum where they don't actually set a date for clients. They'll say, hey, you're locked in, you're all good. As soon as we have an opening, we're going to let you know and you'll be in our like VIP scheduling. And like that can work in some scenarios, but what these guys are doing is making sure their guys are busy and they're basically keeping a lag, which you want to be booked out. But like when that rain hits, they call an interior project in to fill in. Yeah. So I get it, but it's dangerous to play that game, right? It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? But like at the end of the day, you got to have a balance. And that's with every business. Sell, produce, right? Set appointments, rinse and repeat. You know, have good systems to make it all work, right? 100%. And you can't bring in like a sales rep if you can't produce either, right? Because you're expecting this guy to go out and put up big numbers, but you're not able to pay him out properly commission-wise because these jobs can't get produced in time. So that's another reason why you're going in and thinking, oh, I want to do this thing, hire a sales rep or delegate tasks, but I can't because I'm handicapping myself and you don't even know it.
Dude, you're hitting some gems right now, dude. You're absolutely right on all fronts. Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that because the reality is, notice what you just said. You're also hurting your sales team on top of not being able to produce because of the way you're compensating them. These are the things that guys aren't thinking about, which, you know, it's not their fault if they don't know that, right? So if you're listening to this, understand something. There's more than just numbers. There's more than just learning an SOP. Like we literally just mapped out what will happen if you continue to operate that way based off of what's happened to us. So let that sink in a bit.
Yeah. And that's why I'm a big fan of subs too, right? Because it's hard to have 2 to 3 hires of painters in the next 2 to 3 weeks, all rock stars, their own crew set up, ready to go.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, right? I get it. You want to keep your in-house guys and keep that culture, but why not have a few 1, 2, 3 subs available? Maybe like 2 to 3 guys, right? That can just come in, wear your brand, show up and take care of a job. That is a big differentiator from somebody that wants to do $1 million and $2 million, 500K and $1 million. You could easily double your business with just a few subs.
100%, dude. 100%.
Right. And I do get the, you know, pushback that, you know, subs aren't always up to the quality we want to see and whatnot. But also, what systems do you have to train them or show them and set them up for success? What are you doing to make sure they're going to be good on the job? Right. Like I told this story before on the podcast, but when I first showed up and worked for a large franchise, and I was a sub for them just early on trying to keep work coming in, nobody met me. They just said, here's the work order, $1 million house, interior, have at it. I was lucky to be a guy that knew what I was doing, but like I know if that could have been a big, big headache. And some companies are operating like that.
Yeah.
We actually just had Brennan from Peanut Butter Painting. He joined the coaching and he was kind of shedding light on some of the things he was doing. He didn't join our coaching, but he was joining coaching call. And the free one on Thursday. And he said, what we're doing is putting together Loom videos And it's just like, hey, watch these 4 or 5 videos before you start working with us. Just that, what are you going to put in? 2 hours a time
And
to
it
save?
stays forever.
It's a company SOP. And it wasn't nothing crazy. He said, dude, I was like in my dining room, kitchen in the background. Like, who cares? At least I'm getting the information across. And if they see it, now it lessens the chance for them to mess up. They know exactly the processes, et cetera.
100%. I love that you mentioned that, because that's part of the onboarding process now, right? So it's
Yeah.
like what a lot of guys don't do is onboard their subs. And I get that question all the time, like, well, how did you treat your subs? And we ran a hybrid model in Phoenix. You know, we had one core group of Qs, and the rest were all subs.
Yep.
So if they messed up, I sent out my W-2s to fix the subs work. And that was it. We just continued, but we continued to train them. We focused on our onboarding processes. They wore our logo. It was what it was. Like, we didn't do anything past that. So, I agree with you. There has to be a process. Could you imagine if you weren't that good of a person and you just ruined that $1 million home? Like, when you said they didn't even meet you, that is wild.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. We had a scaffold out and everything, man.
See, that's just
insane.
That's wild.
Oh man. And some of this I'm going to be talking about in Liftoff. Liftoff's coming up January 7th and 8th.
Yep.
Make sure liftoff2026.com. Go get your tickets free. Come, insane value, 2 straight days. Me and Joel are going to be speaking. But one of the things I'm going to be speaking on is dummy proofing jobs, right? I am such a delegator. I've turned into such a guy that, like, you are either a problem or you cause problems, right? There's no in between. Or I'm sorry, problem solver versus causing problems. But I need you to say, Aiden, I'm not going to bug you, right? Because I'm doing all the legwork in the front end to set you up. I'm going to set the right expectations. I'm going to make the most dialed in work order you ever seen. Paint specifics, colors, sheens, every room, notes, plus my company cam, all my little notes that I put in all the pictures. You'll know exactly what you have to do, your payout, when it starts, everything.
Yep.
Once I give you that and I do the handoff and talk to you about, like, are the specifics, don't hit me up until it's done. I might check in with the customer one time or have the admin check in 1 or 2 times, depending on how long the job is. They always go through that process, and 95% of the time, they never hit me up. I never have to go to the job, anything like that.
Did you guys just hear that? Like, I get people all the time saying, how do I collect payments with them? I'm running around for them. You just said they don't hit you up till the end. That's exactly how it should be. Like, they start to finish, close it out. Hey, boss, do you have another job for me? That's really how it should be.
Done.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, too, like, they appreciate it, number one, because they're like, oh, shit, Aiden, like, he's good. Like, I know everything ahead of time. I know my payout. I know the exact job, all the details. I don't got to visit to make sure Aiden's pricing's dialed in, so I never have to question, like, oh, if it's a bigger job, am I getting more? That's kind of already written in it, right? And now we develop a relationship that we both have each other's back. And here's another thing I wanted to touch on real quick, because some people, when things go wrong, they do not know how to handle it. Me and you have production backgrounds, right?
Yep.
Where we're dealing with stuff all the time. And one of the things I implemented to all my clients' businesses, as well as my own, is a 2-tiered touch-up system, right? There is touch-ups that are user error, sub messed up, something happened, right? Where they missed something. Maybe they did it and it didn't look great. Okay, they have to come back and take care of it. That's on them, right? Or there's a company touch-up. Maybe me and the sub put together a process on something specific and it didn't turn out well, right? Or the customer's being a little weird and they want something done and it's like, just makes sense to do it. That's coming out of the company's pocket. I'm going to make sure my guys get taken care of so they don't have to worry about it. But that makes your guys so much more inclined to keep their things together and double check with me if they have any questions, right? Like this just happened recently. I'll give you a real world example. We did an exterior and on the side, we do a lot of crack repairs, right? And I noticed, I was doing like content. I noticed that like the one side was a little light. Some of the cracks were still like seeping through. And I was like, hey, you know, whenever you're doing this, just make sure it's a little thicker, especially on the one side. I see the big ass cracks. And he goes, no problem. He did it thicker and it didn't blend. So now it's like an eyesore. And the customer's like, hey, then I don't like how this turned out. But I kind of made my guy do that, right? So my guy's like, you kind of said to do it, right? And I could have been a dick. I could have said, no, man, this is your job. You should have seen it. You should have known. But I said, all right, go out there, take care of it. Let me know how much you think it should be, and we'll come to terms.
Yeah. He
knows I have his back. He knows we talked about it before and found a way forward before he did it. And I alleviated the customer stress. or I made sure she knew here's how we're going forward. Here's how we're doing it. Blah, blah, blah.
100%. A
Most
lot of
people,
people lack that. Yeah. I love that you said that because that's where the sub gets frustrated and you lose the sub because there's no gap that's been closed between the communication and honesty and trust. So that's what you're portraying there, and that's what a lot of people need to do. So I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like, you're also a loyal guy and you understand like there's a long-term play here. I'm not just here to do a couple jobs with this guy. I want him to be a part of the company, really buy
Yeah.
in. So when stuff really goes wrong, what's 100, $200 to make him a little
Take
happy?
care of them.
I
Yeah.
mean, come on. What are we doing?
I couldn't agree more with you, man. That's super important. So that's the other thing too is what are your thoughts on the hybrid model? Like 100%. Like
Yeah.
when you think about it.
I love hybrid. You just have to make sure you're busy, right? Build your base on your W-2 guys if that's what you already have set up. But it's important to, like I said before, have availability for those big fish that you might close, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just say you get a Google lead, nice ass house, landed for like 30, 40,000, full exterior, full interior. Do you want to tell them, yeah, we'll do it in 3 months? Fuck no. Yeah. You're not getting that job. And then it's
Yeah.
like one of those things that, oh, well, these subs, they don't have the best quality. And it's like, dude, micromanage a little bit, right? Until you figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Set them up for as much success as you possibly can. And hopefully you're vetting these guys, meeting them beforehand, seeing their character at least, right? You can't always see the work, but at least you vet we do like a three-tier system, do a phone call, in person, and then a second in person. And that second in person is where we do like the paperwork. So if you're at that third meeting, you're pretty much in.
Locked.
Yeah. So if anything goes wrong, it's like last things. Are we all good?
Right.
Before they even touch a job site.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Good stuff, bro.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff. So
Hey, baby.
we got some production in. Let's talk about hiring, right? I kind of went through my system and what we kind of do. What are some tips you have for hiring?
Yeah, so obviously the onboarding process would be different for each position, essentially. But I always teach everyone when you're first doing the interview process, you should always go off of integrity and character. I'm all about personality. If I don't like you on the interview, I can't work with you. It's pretty simple, right? Like if I feel like there's a weird vibe between us on our interview already, I'm like, this ain't gonna work, because that means it's gonna always be that way. So the first thing I always focus on is personality. And what a great time right now, guys, to hire your best painters. Like, let's be real. Mm-hmm. Other companies that have broken systems are letting go A+ players, period. Like, this is my favorite season. This is Christmas painting season for me. Like, I love finding painters during the Christmas time. It's the best time of year, literally.
It's so funny, dude.
What's that?
I can't put it too close, but I literally have a text here. It says, hi, I'm Eddie, small painting business owner, interior, exterior, residential. If you want to subcontract any work, please let me know. Done. These guys are slow right now.
See?
That's where I come in and we scoop them up. We let them know, as soon as we get you, we ain't letting you go. We're going to keep you busy.
Yeah. And that's the cool part, right? Because you get them at a time like this that you fed them and they were able to continue to grow their business and whatnot, that there is a loyalty there, right? Yep. And they're going to want to stick around for the year. And you guys communicate through that and what that looks like. So, I mean, that's the best time of year right now, is to hire the right guys, key players. The second thing is, get a Google form, right? Have a questionnaire already. Stop wasting time. I didn't do this before. This has obviously been newer to me in the last year. I started to do that last year. But before last year, I would just do the interview like this. I used to show up at the job or at my office and have the interviews done. Here, I'm going to put you guys on game real quick. When it comes to production, if you're hiring your painters, hire your painters at a job site. Interview them at a job site. Couple things. You're already looking at the job site, so you're not wasting any time if they don't show up.
True.
You just continue moving forward. If they do show up, now you do kind of like a face-to-face interview. Hey, tell me a little bit about what you see wrong in this room. What would you do differently? How would you handle this job? And it does two things, right? Your current team start to go, oh, Joel's hiring again.
True.
Right? So what happens? Immediately, they're on it, right? They're like, oh, something's going on. Number two, I also want my team to tell me something. I involve my team a lot. They start to go, boss, like, I didn't really like the way he introduced himself to me. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, they're going to be painting together.
Exactly.
Right? So that's another tip that I usually do, is so I don't waste time. I'm really big about time management, is I hire on job sites for painters, production managers, or anything production related. When it comes to sales, I'll do a full-on role play session. So after they go through the interview process, which I would have my office look at the resume. After the office, they answer all these questions through Google Forms. Then I vet them, because if they filled out all the questions, then it's worth it. After I look at their resume, I do an online call just like this. And what I would do is completely do a role play. I'll be like, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. We'll go over all that. And then I want to hear how you do. So I want to know how comfortable they are on the spot.
Yep.
Right? Because people can come in and be like, hey, Aiden, man, I got a 60%. I close 60, 70% of my people, man. I do this, man, and I can do this. I'm like, that's great. Show me.
Yeah.
So I'm big about that, role playing for sales. And then I also talk about like conflict leadership skills. So I want to know, I do things so differently. But anyways, I want to know, hey, tell me a little bit about a time that you were with a coworker or with another manager. How did you handle it? I want them to tell me how they handle conflict, because we're in a business. Conflict will come up.
Yeah.
And if they can't tell you on a call like this, what do you think is going to happen when it actually happens? So I want to really get rid of any kind of doubts in my mind about this individual. And then the last thing I want to say is anything can be transferred by skill. If they're a great person, you can transfer skill all day long, right? You cannot teach someone to be a good person. They're either going to be one or not, right? So hire a great person, skills can be transferred all day long. I'll leave you with that one. What's I know you probably have like this full system. I wanted to go on the personality and mindset side of things.
I actually have a funny story. This is like embarrassing, but when I was first interviewing, like way back, and this is like when I was like, all right, I finally don't want to be a painter anymore. I was painting apartments for like $70 a day. Like I was like, I want to get a sales job because I was going into college for business. And I remember I applied for like this definitely pyramid scheme company. Like 100% they were a pyramid scheme. But I'm like, you know what? Back then I didn't know as much, right? I'm just like trying to get into a job. And they asked me, just like you said, a role play. Like this company, they were like, hey, we're going to ask you a question. We want to see how you'd kind of handle it, right? And they said, how would you describe the sun to a blind person? What? And I'm on the spot, right? And I'm on the spot, and I'm like, okay. And a little younger, obviously. But I'm like, all right. I would say like, warm, yellow, just like put stuff out there, right? And they're like, he's blind. He can't see colors.
I was about to say, like, I probably would have said the same thing.
Oh my goodness. They were like, you were on a good track with warm. Yeah. I said yellow. Bro, don't know what yellow is.
Now, right? Like, gosh.
I just thought that was so funny because you were like, let's do the role play kind of right away. And I'm like, that literally happened to me. And I fumbled so bad.
Did you get hired at least or no?
Yeah, they always make the offer just because it's a pyramid scheme. But I ended up turning it down, going to sell Verizon and business phones and whatever. But I just thought that was so funny. As far as what I look for when it comes to like sales, I'm actually in that right now. We're looking for a project consultant, 75% sales, 25% project manager. And I look for your presentability, right? Because you might have awesome experience. I also don't want the oldest guy in the world. And I know that might be kind of controversial, but I don't want somebody that's been around since 1980, like personally, I want somebody that if I have to go send out and knock doors, they're not going to like say, I'm not at that level or something like that, or push back. Right. I want somebody that has maybe fresh out of college, maybe worked a sales job or an internship, motivated, hungry. Right. I'm seeing it a lot more. Guys that are younger doing cold calls and recording themselves and showing that online. That's what I want. I want that hunger. Like I'm out there to get it. And I just want to become a killer. And maybe the end all be all is not with your company, Aiden, but maybe I get started with you. I learn a bunch. And if they grow with me, great. But maybe they have something else they're trying to do. But I want a guy like that. Right. Yeah. And I'm looking, and one of the things that are jumping off the page for me is the presentability. Right. So when I'm looking at a sales position, I know that if I'm looking at somebody that's going to represent my company, I want them to be super presentable. I want to see them in their LinkedIn profile and think, I would love to just talk to this person. Right. A little bit of a personality there. Right. Because how much of sales is getting to know someone? You can be the most paint-centered person ever. You can know everything between the products, application, the specs, and been doing it for 20 years. But can you relate to somebody? Right? Because what I am trying to sell, and I said this, Nick Kelly said this on the podcast. We sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Yeah.
Most people try and sell the steak. So I need somebody that's going to really butter up my client, make them feel like I have a friend here and I can call her for anything or him for anything. And that when they do this paint job, I like him or her so much that the painter's got to be good. The paint's got to be good. This company, I called them for a reason. I feel so validated. If I don't get that looking at their, because I'm going to do some, advanced looking for painters and, subs, I won't go like into their socials and stuff like that. When I'm looking at sales and production management, I'll probably pull up their Facebook. I'll probably pull up their LinkedIn and just see what they got going on. And if I feel like they present themselves well, you're getting a call.
Yeah. I love that, dude. That's a great vetting system because you're absolutely right that their personal life is going to dictate what you think and what you're bringing into your culture of your business. So yeah, I agree.
I want them to share stuff about the company, right? Like if we have huge wins, do big projects, hit a milestone, I want them to be comfortable sharing, but I also want myself to have them be comfortable sharing, right? Like I want to be like, yeah, I want this person to represent me and shout us out, right? So people do their research. It's like, oh, they got good people all around. That's what I'm trying to build at least.
I love that. No, I agree with you. And I've been telling all my clients that lately because a lot of clients are growing so much that they're like, hey, I need sales reps. What's the ideal person? I'm like, young and hungry. Like until a proven other, young and hungry. Like that's just where I'm at. You know what I mean?
And if you sell, also you got to see too, right? If you do sell a super technical, right, side of the business, that maybe you have a conversation with somebody that's a little bit more spec driven and whatnot. But they still have to be able to hold a conversation and have some sales ability. I like that you said you do the role play because people think you can just learn sales overnight. Takes a while.
Still sharpening the sword, man. It's been 20 plus years,
Yeah. And there's different forms of it. Just because you were good, selling for this roofing company doesn't mean you can sell for a painting company.
Well, and a lot of it's because the sales was taught specific to industry versus sales taught to specific to people. When you get really good at selling on people, maybe that should be our next episode, dude. Just rocking the sales on that. Because the connectivity, like you said, when people feel validated and they feel like you understand where they're coming from, what they're trying to achieve, that's more powerful than product knowledge, to be honest.
100%.
Then they know, like, even if you don't know much about paint, at least your painters do, right?
Yeah.
So that's important. 100%.
Man, we're covering a lot. We are covering a lot. Any last piece of advice, as they go into 2026 related to production and hiring?
I would say get out of the scarcity mindset. Everything at the end of the day, mindset's everything. And the reason why I say that, it's because, like you said, the guys that said I'm 5 months booked out, those are the guys that save pennies in their savings account and they're holding on to dear life. And then when somebody comes around and just boom, hits them, they lose everything. So don't be that guy or gal, right? And I think just get out of the scarcity mentality, because here's the cool part. It's called production-driven sales. When you're able to produce more, it drives your sales. Like, produce it. Have fun with it, right? Produce it. Make it happen. It'll force your sales to move up. You're organically going to scale your business. And then stay 4 to 6 weeks. If you start to get less than that 4 to 6 weeks, go back to your normal production number, whatever that number is, and then stick to your goals. You do that, you're set up for success. It's that easy.
Yeah. I go back to when you said there's guys that have to see it before they believe it, or believe it before they see it. And they don't realize that when they set up the business as a vehicle to be able to support high level production, by default, that production comes and you're able to just easily fill up those spots. And you're like, thank goodness I hired the guys, had the production systems in place, and we did the aggressive marketing, because now I am having record months and now I can adjust my goals. And now I don't got to see it anymore. I already proved it. Right.
Yeah. 100%, brother.
We'll end it on that. You got any quotes for us?
Actually, I do. Let me pull that up real quick. Man, what a great episode today, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's see here. So what I want to leave you guys with today. Sorry, guys. Usually I pull it up.
Oh, you're good. This is worth waiting for.
So I posted this the other day, but I think it's important. It says, your environment will shape you or suffocate you. Choose wisely.
There it is.
There it is.
Love it. Till next one.
Thanks.